Storytelling Day. So we are very excited to be chatting with Lavanya Prasad, who is the founder of Telescope. And Telescope is a storytelling organization that believes that stories have answers to everything.
That's right.
Yeah. And so Telescope works with children and adults from corporate sectors, and it uses stories to teach and train them. So first of all, happy World Storytelling Day, Lavanya.
Thank you.
And congrats and happy birthday to Telescope. Telescope turns 3 today.
Yay!
Yes, so here's to many, many more.
Thank you.
This is
Thank
3.
you so much.
Yeah, and we are really excited to have you as our first live guest. This is the first time
I'm excited too. I'm thrilled. Thanks to BuzzingBubs. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so I just thought I'd start, with a very kind of relaxed question. Has there ever been a story that made you laugh so much that you cried?
That I cried. Yes, I remember a story which my grandfather had told when I was a little girl. The story is a Tenali Raman story. I think most of you would be familiar with it. It is about how how people, the Brahmins, take advantage of the king, and how Tenali Raman makes the king understands. So he actually goes to give, he takes iron rods and tries to heat them up and put it at the back of the Brahmin. So I had laughed so much listening to the story, and I remember having tears in my eyes too. Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that memory back.
Yeah. I mean, even we love Tenali Raman stories at home. And so since it's World Storytelling Day, I thought, if you have a really bad day, how can a story cheer you up? How can it, make you feel better?
Yes, stories have always something which I have always gone to, whether I'm in a very happy mood or a sad mood. Yes, I don't know. Sometimes it just relates to me. I find some story which has an answer to what is actually going on in my mind. I don't know to how many of you happens. Like this happens. I find it in books. I find it in stories, and somehow it just opens up something inside my mind, and I'm all okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It de-stresses you.
Yes, it does.
And speaking of, my daughter loves stories. I tell her a lot of stories, and our favorite is Ganesha.
Okay.
She loves Ganesha. So, what's your favorite character from mythology? There are so many.
I've been exploring mythology so much. I like Shiva because there is so many aspects of Shiva in mythology. There is a humorous aspect, there is this feared Shiva, and there is so many other new stories of Shiva which we never know. So Shiva excites me. I mean, I love Shiva in mythology.
Yeah, and you recently did an
Yes.
event. You're going to do.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I did a dance of Shiva at it. That's right.
Yes. Yeah. So I know a lot of children listen to your stories. Yeah. My own daughter listened to Lavanya's stories and she loved it. It was the highlight of her day at school. So what's the nicest thing a child has ever told you about your stories?
Yes, there is one thing which really stays close to my heart. I had volunteered for a visually impaired school, so children from a visually impaired school, and they wanted me to tell stories. It was a great challenge for me because I cannot tell them. There was a huge mountain that was brown in color, so I had to be very, very cautious about how I was telling stories to them. So I used a lot of sensory elements there. After the story session, there was this little girl. She must be about 10 to 12 years of age. She just came to me, she hugged me and she said, "Akka, thanks so much for helping us see." So that was something which I feel I'm blessed.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Absolutely. That's the power of stories. They can make you see things that are not there in front of you. And Absolutely. And so what are you reading right now? I can see so many books in your room. So what's something you're reading right now that you really like?
Yes, so I have it here. This is what I'm reading.
Okay.
And it is about the mythology of Indian plants. Yes, you heard it right, mythology of Indian plants. So this book has got wonderful stories about the folklore of trees. And it's very interesting to know more about the how and why of nature. So it's absolutely amazing. You must read.
Yes, yeah, it sounds really interesting. And so it's World Storytelling Day, and we have a great storyteller with us, and we cannot lose this opportunity. So can you tell us a small story?
Yes, I would like to share something from this book,
Yes,
which I've been reading.
Yes, yeah.
So it tells about the Parijata tree. I'm sure most of you would have heard about the Parijata tree. It blooms only in the night. So there is a folklore as to why the Parijata tree blooms in the night. It goes on to say that there was a king who had a very beautiful, lovely daughter called Parijata. And the princess fell in love with Mr. Sun. And in spite of her father not approving of the wedding, she was so much in love that she immediately left her father's place and went on with Sun when he called out to her very passionately, "Come, let's go, I'll take you with me." And yes, she was off. But the story, the folklore goes on to say that Sun was bored of her soon and ditched her. So the princess died of heartbreak, and in the place where they actually burnt her grew a single tree, and that single tree bloomed only in the night because she could not see the sun. She didn't want to see the sun, so only the tree blooms in the night, and as the first rays of sun hits the tree, the flowers fall down dead. So that is the story of the Parijata tree. There are so many more interesting stories like this, and I love this book.
Beautiful.
Yes.
That's a great story.
And yes, World Storytelling Day talks about transformation. That is the theme.
Right.
So I
Yeah,
find this to be a
absolutely.
great
Yes.
transformation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It is. And so what we'll do is we'll just see if there are some questions from our viewers, and let me just check. Yeah, so we have a viewer who says that, a reader who says that her daughter, she loves the story about Parijata. And we have someone else who said, my daughter is a big fan of mythology. So she wanted you to share the title again. So,
All right. So it is Menaka Gandhi's book on the mythology of Indian plants. It's called The Brahma's Hair. Yes, they say that all the plants actually originated from Brahma's hair. That's the folklore about
Right.
plants as well. So please do read.
Yes,
Read it to your daughter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I wanted to ask another question. So my daughter, she loves stories, and sometimes in school they tell her stories in different languages, Kannada and Hindi, and even though she doesn't know the language, she just loves it because it's very different, and she loves stories. So children listen to a lot of English stories these days. So how do you get children interested in stories from other languages, because there are such fantastic stories from other languages.
That's right.
Brilliant ones. So how would you do that?
See, I personally feel that a story comes in its true nature when it is actually told in the same language or the region to which it is belonged to. So I'm from Tamil Nadu, so I have explored a lot of Tamil folk stories and folk tales.
Right.
But if I've also said stories from other regions, as in there was a Maharashtrian folk tale which I told to Tamil audience. So
Okay.
how I did that was the song. I used a lot of song and dance in my stories.
Right.
So I try to tell the song in Tamil for them,
Okay.
so that they get the essence of the story. That's how I do it, and songs I love,
Yeah.
and who doesn't love songs?
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
you immediately get a song.
Yes.
I mean, you
So,
connect to it.
Yes, so when they get the rhythm and they want to sing back, they connect to the story as well and the storyteller. So one such thing which I did was the Marathi song was different. I mean, the Maharashtrian song was different, but I did it like this in Tamil. Thondram paru taru taru, sarkram paru saru saru, murikram paru murru murru, odram paru drru drru. Yes.
Yeah. You can. Yeah. It's pretty funny.
Yes.
and
So
yeah.
it actually talks about the rat which digs a hole.
Okay.
So try to tell that in Tamil for them. Thondram paru taru taru. So they relate to the music. They relate to the.
yeah, the sound of daru daru,
Yes.
you know that. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So it helps.
It helps.
Music helps.
Absolutely, it does. Yeah, and what would you like? What are there any books that you recommend for kids? It doesn't have to be a book that they read. It just has great stories. Something that just it can be from any country. Which one would you
Yes.
recommend for kids?
See, I love so many stories. So, but the one which I really like is I always like stories with a small twist in it, a twist or some surprise element to the story. So I find that in Julia Donaldson's books.
Right.
So there is always a small learning which happens at the end of her book, and that is a spark in the child's mind.
Yeah.
It happens even with me.
Right.
So one such thing is that the monkey puzzle book,
Okay.
where she talks about the monkey that is lost, and finally goes on to give a small spark as
Right.
to the caterpillar is the baby of the butterfly. So she connects it so wonderfully well,
Beautifully, yeah.
and I think that twist helps a
Absolutely,
lot
yeah.
with me.
Yeah,
Yes, that's it.
Yeah,
And there are,
so-
if folk tales interests your children, I'm sure it should. Please find A.K. Ramanujam's Folk Tales of India.
right.
They're beautiful.
A.K. Ramanujam.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And and what about for older kids or adolescents?
I'll tell you what I related to.
Okay.
I love R.K. Narayan and Ruskin Bond. So all the stories, they're so natural when I read them. So that's what I related to when I was an adolescent. So probably yes, you could try it as well.
Yes, yeah. Even I loved all the R.K. Narayan, Mr. Sampath,
Yes.
Malgudi Days.
They are
All
wonderful.
of them are
wonderful.
great. Yeah, I love them. Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's one more person who's asked us a question. We'll just see who it is. Okay. Okay, so Priya Arun asks, do you remember the first story you told as a storyteller? Can you share that story for us?
Yes. So the first story that I told to an audience is the Rainbow Bird, the story of the Rainbow Bird. It's a beautiful story about how there is a rainbow bird, and he saves his whole forest. Yes, so the forest, the animals are very, very happy because they're finding something falling from the sky for the first time, and it happens to be the snow. They're very happy, they're enjoying, they're having fun, but after a few days they find that it is too cold and they want to stop it from snowing. So they're having a conversation as to who's going to go and ask God, who's going to let the snow actually stop. And that is when this rainbow bird, who's a favorite among the whole lot of forests, comes up and says that I'll go. And for your information, the rainbow bird, as its name goes, it's very colorful and it has a beautiful, nice voice, and she loves the whole forest. And so she goes up. God gives her fire. He says that I cannot stop it from snowing anymore because I've already created it, but I can definitely tell you how you can keep yourself warm. And that is when he gives fire to her, and he says that you need to go really fast because it's going to come to you otherwise. So she, in that anxiety, she just flies really fast. She goes very closer to the sun, and she feels her wings burning. She tries to flap her wings really fast, but there is smoke coming up. She coughs, but somehow she lands in the forest, and she gives off the fire to the her fellow birds. And that is when the bird who looks at her asks, who are you? We've never seen you in this forest before. And this rainbow bird goes on to say that, hey, I'm Rainbow Bird. You must be knowing me. Come on, you're my friend. And then, but what happened to your rainbow colors? My rainbow colors? Probably they just got burnt when I came in the sun. And what happened to your lovely voice? Oh, I think I just coughed too much when there was smoke. And she feels sad, but later God comes on to say that you have done a great sacrifice for the welfare or the well-being of your whole community. So here I give you 3 boons. 1, no hunter ever will cage you up. Nobody will kill you and eat your meat because it will smell of smoke. And the third is, when anybody is going to actually tell you about sharing and caring for friends, they'll quote you as an example. And can you guess what the bird is?
Can anyone guess?
Yes, can anyone guess what the bird is? I'm giving you time.
Yeah, we can check. We can check if someone's guessed what the bird is.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we have one more question. So Uma asks, so Lavanya, how do you prepare yourself before a storytelling session? I simply love your flair and command.
Okay. Yes, I do prepare. In the sense that I always use or choose stories that relate to me the most. So when I'm trying to choose a story that I really like, I'm sure that I'll be able to present it also very well. And I try to run it like a movie in front of my eyes before I actually tell the story, so that I get to understand, what are the places where I actually need not have all this in the story. And time is very important when telling a story. I'm working on that because trying to tell a story in just 10 minutes is very, very difficult, or even 5 minutes. So it helps when I'm trying to run it like a movie in front of my eyes. I'm able to see where I don't need to, I need to take off certain things,
Right.
and it helps, yes.
And let's see if there's someone else who's asked. I wanted to know if someone has guessed which bird you were talking about.
Yes.
And I have a couple of guesses, but I'll just leave it to the readers to see if they know it. Okay. Shailaja says phoenix bird.
No.
Priya says crow.
Spot on! Priya is the
Fantastic.
winner!
Yes, Priya, you did it. That's awesome. Yeah.
That's right, it's the
amazing.
crow.
Yes.
So it's a beautiful story about
Yeah,
sacrifice.
it is,
And
yeah.
yes.
And it's interesting because it's an interesting story about a crow, because usually we hear only these very usual, typical type of stories about a crow. We usually hear about peacocks and all these very flamboyant birds. But it's really nice to hear something different about a crow, right?
So
Yeah.
it's very
Beautiful, yeah, absolutely. And so I will just so I just wanted to know, I just want to make sure if there are other questions, but before that I just want to ask, so I know that again, I'm not a professional storyteller, but when I tell something to my daughter, the first sentence or the first opening of the story should really be interesting. It should just grab, especially with children, because they're so they're in their own world. So, what has been the craziest or the most interesting opening that you've ever had for a story that you told?
Okay, this is interesting. Okay, craziest. I can just think of the craziest. I'll do it for you.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, it is like this. The whole world shook at the sound. But yes, everybody also closed their nose. What do you think was that? That was the craziest opening I've ever done.
But I'm interested. Yeah, I'm interested to know what happens next.
The story is about a fart.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I guessed. Yeah, but I just. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yes.
I mean, that's really funny. I'm
Yes.
sure everyone must have had a great time.
Children usually have fun.
Yeah,
with this.
absolutely. Yeah. And let me say, Uma is saying, I remember saying that I remember the crow being my favorite bird. I was okay. Yeah. Just check who else is. Is there any other question? And okay. So I want to make sure there's no other question before we wrap it up. I don't want to wrap it up. I'm just having such a great time. I don't want to let Lavanya go. But yeah, so before we wrap it up, I just want to know what can we. So on your page, you said that you have some exciting news to share.
Yes.
So can you tell us what that is?
Yes. So like I said before, today's Talescope's third year. We step into our third year, and it's been a great journey. Today especially we are giving out videos. I work with, I volunteer with schools in India, in and around India. I do Skype sessions for them. So today I have sent videos to all the schools that I work with, that I work as a volunteer with, and they're all playing my videos today on this World Storytelling Day. I think that is the least I could do, a small bit from my side,
Yes.
to actually keep the children happy and smiling. They love stories.
Right.
And yes, there is something else that is coming up too. I have been having talks with people. I'll let you know soon once it is finalized. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, and yes, and I hope you can share it with us at BuzzingBubs. And yeah, and I think one of our readers, I think she's such a big fan of your voice modulations that she wants to hear a few more voices if you have any.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because I think we love your how you change. your voice
Okay.
and-
Okay, what do I do?
Maybe while you come to that, we'll take another question.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
age to introduce mythology to kids.
I mean, I have introduced mythology to my daughter as early as 3 years. She loves listening to stories.
Okay.
So yes, I usually club it up with the festivals we celebrate, and then I tell her the reason as to why we celebrate the festival, and that's how mythology actually comes into it. I think it's a part and parcel of your everyday life.
Right.
There is, once you feel that your child actually starts to understand what you're trying to tell, or asks you, Amma, why are we making these karakatais at home for Ganesha?
Right.
You could tell a story, and you could bring in Ganesha and
Absolutely, yeah. And so Priyanka wants to know, I think she wants to know the name of the fart story. What's the name of the story?
It is it's a Goan folk tale. It goes on to tell as to why actually people fart. So
Okay.
it is it's a story about two women who are occupied by the Vayu Bhagavan or the the wind god, and why people fart. You could search it in Google. You will get it definitely.
So it's called, that's the title of
Yes,
the story?
yes.
Okay.
So why do people fart?
Okay.
It's a great story.
Right, yeah. And maybe if we could have the name of the story that you told us about the crow, that is...
It's called the Rainbow Bird, and
Okay.
there are various versions to it. So this is my version.
Okay.
So you could find it online.
Yes, absolutely. And maybe we can, if you want to do a couple of voices, if you want.
Voices, okay. What do you want me to do? Okay, this is my natural voice. And yeah, when I sing like a, or I do like a girl who's very shy. I just say, Nanga, yenu mama. I like to use dialects in my stories, so I try to bring in the dialect of Chennai or Coimbatore. So each specific thing has a type of talking. So that is something which I love to explore. So when I'm doing Chennai stories, I say, hey, kasmalon. So that kind of thing happens. Or when I'm doing a Coimbatore story, I'll be like, mama, என்ற வீட்டுக்கு வந்துட்டு நீங்க இப்படி பேசுறீங்களே இதெல்லாம் வந்து சரியா போகுமா என்ற மனசு என்ன பாடா படுது தெரியுமா உங்களுக்கு. So this is something which I'd like to explore, and yeah, if you're asking for animal voices or something, I try a mouse maybe can happen, or when I'm talking about a lion, a very bolder and nicer voice. So yes, that's it. I hope you liked it.
Yeah, we loved it. And I'll just see if there are any more questions before we wrap it up. Okay. So yeah, I think so Uma asks, what is the, so I think you had uploaded a Japanese folktale on SoundCloud.
Yes.
She wants to know the name of that story.
I think I read it somewhere. So it basically talks about a boy. I think it's called the 3 Magic Papers or something.
Okay.
Because that's what it's about, the Akemi folktale.
Right.
That's an interesting part as well, because I worked with a Japanese woman to learn the Japanese song in that story. So it just comes
Wow.
back to
Okay.
me. Yes.
Okay, I see.
So she was trying to tell me. I wanted her to tell me about a tree, and she gave me a nice, beautiful song for that.
Right. That's amazing.
Yes. So yeah.
And Sunena asks, can you suggest some tips on making storytelling interesting and fun for kids while reading it out from a book? How do you make it interesting?
So I somehow feel that songs, rhythm and dance relate very well to the child. Children love to actually move around when telling a story. So that's what I do with my daughters, and it's always helped when I work with other children as well. So try to find something, try to make a song out of any story that you take up. It need not be, very formally done song. It could be a very simple tune like a Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. But if you're going to try and tell that to your child, she or he is just going to get it immediately, and they'll never forget the story.
Right. Absolutely. Especially,
Yes.
if we allow ourselves to be silly or
Yes.
to be very.
So just let
Yeah.
go, be
Yeah.
yourself, enjoy. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. And, so before I think we'll have to wind it up now. I mean, okay, so someone's asking, was it a Japanese story, The 3 Magic Charms? That's not the one.
Yes, it
Is
could
the
be. I'm still not sure about the magic charms. It's about the 3 magic papers with the which the boy uses. So yes, it could be 3 magic charms as well.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
it's about Akemi.
Okay. And someone, Prakriti just said, we love the book case.
Okay,
I should
thank
say.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Prakriti.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we should wrap it up now. It's been a great live. We're really excited. We should do this more. And so thank you so much, Lavanya. I mean,
Thanks to BuzzingBubs, because it's very special. Today is our 3rd birthday, and when Shweta called and said that we're coming, I was super thrilled. Thanks to BuzzingBubs for this opportunity. Thank you
absolutely.
so
We had a
much.
great time. And here's to years and years more of days.
Yeah,
Enthralling.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And I hope we have many more live events. We will post the names of the books that Lavanya recommended. And I hope. Thank you all for your questions, and thanks for tuning in. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Tata.
Bye.